Good morning, everyone. This is lesson 4. So I know during these times it is extremely challenging to stay self-disciplined and organised. I thought the best thing for us to do for you today would be to organise an hour of practice for you. For those of you who are used to practicing for longer, of course you can just add 15 minutes to each category. For those of you used to practicing less, you can just subtract some time, but try to keep it proportionate so that the categories somehow relate to each other. So we have written most of this out, but I would encourage you during this short video to just actually write out your own schedule. So note down the categories that I'm suggesting and adjust it to your needs. Obviously this video will not be the full length of your practice time, or it shouldn't be in any case. So I would get either a phone or a clock ready, just something that's going to help you keep track of the time. And that you're not going to be searching for that once you begin your practice. The number of times that I find that I set myself up to do something and I think I'm really super organized, and then I'm like running around looking for a pencil or for a clock or something. So just make sure that's to hand. Okay, I would ask you to begin by placing your instrument down. I want you to be taking notes at this point. Place your instrument down, and we're going to start with just our physicality. So practice session begins about now. I want you to spend 1 minute focused on the positivity of your mind. So we're going to start with as much of a can-do attitude as possible. Sometimes you can actually you can stir up positive energy inside of you that's actually within your capability and your brain's power. So just however you want to do it, you can think certain positive thoughts, or you can just imagine yourself doing something well. And if you imagine it really, really clearly, it will actually feed you with some positive energy. So take 1 minute to do that. After this, we are going to start a 10-minute section that is going to be without the instrument. That might seem like a long time, but there's a whole checklist of things to be done, and they are so important. The first one is, of course, to breathe. Now, we often breathe in the very upper part of our chest, so we want to breathe a little bit lower down, and during that breath, we want to feel as grounded to the floor as possible. So I want you to bend your knees a little bit, feel connected to the ground. We're going to stretch our hands out and flop them back down. We're going to stretch them out and back again. A whole routine of kind of tensing and lifting the body and then dropping back again. So that routine allows us to feel the weight into the ground. Left hand, we're going to swing this left hand into place so that it feels nice and comfortable. A little bit of airplane, feeling like this all moves and it gets really nice and free. Same thing with the right hand. We can do some painting. We can do some painting this way. Anything that makes it feel really nice and fluid and free. I want you to do bobbing both into position. So for all violinists and violists, obviously that's what that looks like, and that you feel you're connecting that to your breath and to feeling connected to the ground, and that everything is just, it's got that comfort and that weight to it. I want you to spend approximately 10 minutes doing that, and to do it as seriously as possible, but it should also feel really nice, and it should also actually be fun. So hopefully 10 minutes is not too much to ask for that exercise. Right, the next 5 minutes we're going to focus purely on sound. So I want you to take your instrument and I want you to do a combination of some of the things that we've been talking about. The first is to feel utter absolute freedom. So I want you to take that sense of this and of circular motion and all of that nice kind of fluidity and just apply it without too much care in the world. Go to your A string, for viola players, the D string, central string. So not worrying too much, just using the bow. I want you to imagine painting. Now I want you to sway with the stroke. So we are only trying to get fluidity, comfort, and to get the instrument woken up and really ringing. I want you to do that on each one of the strings, and I want you to do that with a real serious intention. Can I get this instrument ringing as much as possible? You can also add your own variations, things like retakes and actually, like, if you could see all of me, I'm bobbing every time I go on the down bow. So I'm just wakening everything up and getting the instrument ringing. That's going to be a full 5 minutes on that. Right, so for the next 2 minutes, I want you to focus just on the left hand. So I'm going to hold the instrument here, put the bow down, scoop up and down the instrument as fast as you possibly can, but hold on. Please don't make me responsible for you dropping your instrument. Hold on and just feel as free as possible. Can you see how just wild and free my elbow is as well? So everything just feels good. Then you're going to wiggle the fingers as much as possible, then drop them onto the string, drop them onto the string, drop them onto the string. I want you to do that for 2 minutes so it feels like a good kind of active workout for the left hand. Right, now we are about 15 minutes in, and we're going to put the instrument down again, and we're going to find a recording of the piece. So I want you to sit down comfortably with the music in your hand and listen through from beginning to end of one recording. And I don't want you to listen passively. I want you to try as hard as possible not to daydream. I want you to listen really carefully and imagine yourself playing it, all the things that you're listening to that you don't do, that you would like to do, all the things that you could absorb from what you're listening to and you could do better. So listen really, really actively and really carefully. Now I want you to look at that piece of music that you've got in your hand, again with no instrument, and ask yourself, what have I been finding most difficult? I want you to stop the video now and actually answer that question. So what keeps going wrong? Try to write this down, perhaps circle the parts in the music that go wrong. We want to identify the biggest issues that you're having. Now, I have just created an example of what I would imagine are the things that are going wrong, but obviously you have to be able to choose your own. So for me, I would imagine that there are things relating to the basics. So rhythm, the notes, and the next stage of the notes, of course, is the intonation of the notes, the tone and sound generally, and then specific tricky bars, shifts, certain intervals that are continually going wrong. And the last category that I always want to neglect because it's not too obvious, but it's so important, that last category is the general feel. Am I rushing through this piece? Am I not understanding how much space it needs? And the kind of feel, and it's not just a tempo, it's something deeper than tempo, it's something deeper than speed or the metronome mark. It's that thing that just happens inside you when you really understand the feeling of something. So I want you to pick 4 or 5 of these categories. Don't make it 25 because that's too much to manage in an hour. Pick 4 or 5 categories that you can specifically work on, and I want you to spend 5 minutes practicing each one of those categories. So if we take the examples that I gave you, rhythm, that would be to clap the rhythm, but clap it musically, as I wonderfully demonstrated yesterday, and you would do that for 5 minutes, and then you stop doing it. For the notes or for intonation, of course, we talked about not only being able to hear and sing the part, but practice that's like this, which would mean that you would go through the entirety of how much of the piece that you have learned. If it's the whole piece, brilliant. If it's not, just do what you know. So you're forgetting about the rhythm, about vibrato, about sound. You're just focused on a sensitivity in the left hand and this really getting as familiar with the intonation as possible. Counting up. You get the idea. 5 minutes. The next one would be sound. So the 2 categories that we worked on yesterday, one was more control focused and the other one was really feeling the sound and much more freedom and air and breath into the sound. The last category I've put the fourth last, sorry. The second last category is tricky bars and shifts. So there would be one particular place that I just know goes wrong all the time. Can I spend 5 minutes trying to analyze what the problem is? And the last one, of course, is that general feel and the general attitude, and am I actually taking a moment to understand what is lacking in that regard? Now, that will take us to either 20 or 25 more minutes of practice, because you've spent 5 minutes on each one of those categories. You've been disciplined with it. You know each one is only going to last 5 minutes, so it's not overwhelming. 5 minutes is not a long time, but if you're really concentrated, you can achieve a huge amount if you narrow down what you're trying to achieve in that time. So the last thing I want to suggest that you do with the time we have left is address continuity. So for those of you who have learned the entire piece, we're going to be going from beginning to end. For those of you who have only learned, say, the first 20 bars or just half of the piece, you want to be going from the beginning to the point that you feel comfortable playing. And so the last thing I want to suggest that you do with your time is to address continuity. So much of the time we're focused on details, which means that we stop and start all the time. We're constantly correcting ourselves. And it means that we don't build up a very good sense of trust and actually making it through to the end of a piece in a way that makes us feel confident and comfortable no matter what happens. So even if things go wrong. So I want to suggest that you go from the beginning of the piece to whatever place you feel confident that you can play, but decide it in advance and be disciplined with making it to that point. So if that's the first 20 bars, great. If that's to the end of the piece, excellent. What I want to ask you to do is play it through twice to that point that you're comfortable playing to. And I want you to do it absolutely without stopping, no matter what happens. Keep going. Try not to let any mistakes or things going wrong bring you down. We want to maintain the most positive attitude possible. So anything that doesn't happen that you in the way that you wanted it to, it's going to come into your brain in a way that's like, oh, why did I do that? Just push it away and keep looking forward. Keep focused on the next thing that you're doing. Do not let something going wrong distract you and bring you down. So no matter what, no retaking, no starting again. It doesn't matter what happens. You have to promise me you're going to just keep going and you're not going to stop. Okay, so we're going to do that twice. And when you get to the end of the second one, what we're going to do is note down all the things that we didn't like. So you're making a mental note of them. And when you write them down, it's not for you to work on now. It's for you to practice tomorrow or whenever your next practice session is. So write them down. And that means when you then leave your practice session, you know that you've written down the things that you have to improve and the things that you're not happy with. So we're going to end this practice session how we started. So I want you to put the instrument down and stand grounded and breathe in and out in a way that actually makes you feel as calm as possible. I want you to review all the things that you did. I want you to review the things that you could perhaps do better next time. I want you to take that breath also to address the fact that this music takes, all slower music takes a slower heartbeat, and it takes that sort of patience and calmness, and so much of that is connected to your breath. I've been hearing some reports from some teachers that are saying that people are just kind of rushing through it a little bit too much. So I want you to really connect that to that sense of calm and breath. I think that will take you through your practice for today. So I want to wish you luck. I will see you again tomorrow. Keep sending us videos of your progress and with the hashtag Salut Nicky, and I'll see you soon.